But the second point is about the pre-harvest facility setup. This is really important in terms of lowering the overall insect pressure you're likely to be faced during the storage period. It's about the hygiene in, being the silo, and the storage facilities on the outside, so around the yard. Hygiene in the silo, we want to make sure that all the dusk and husk that's built up on the ribbing of the edges of the silo or beams is brought down and washed out. Any of the old grain or in the dead spots and transfer channels and outloading augers, we want to make sure that that's also removed. This needs to be washed out and a structural treatment applied. So the structural treatment can be either Reldan or phenitrathione or the alike, but it's really important to check that the commodity that you're treating does accept those residues of that product, because the commodity will pick up the residues from that structural treatment. Most important to use is diatomaceous earth, or Dryside's a key brand in that market. And Dryside is important to dust all surfaces of the interior of the silo, and also in any dead spots in any of the transfer channels where grain's likely to build up. It's most important to treat those with diatomaceous earth. In terms of the silo complex, it's really important to make sure that points of harbourage are removed for rodents and also husk and grain residues, because this also supports an external source of infestation. All these insects have wings. The ecology of them, we do know that they can fly for several kilometres and are attracted strongly by the scent of grain. So as we can see here in this hopper, it hasn't been cleaned since the outload, and we can see it's all mouldy, and it's potentially going to lead to an infestation or contaminate grain that's being outloaded. On this hopper here, we can see that fresh grain has been outturned. It's still important to empty and clean those out. Any of the piles of grain around the silos are really important to pick up, remove, and ideally bury, because if we just go and dump them in the farm pit sort of a kilometre away, then these insects, as I said, can fly and are strongly attracted by the scent of grain. It's really important to clean and check your aeration fans, because as at this site here, they principally rely on aeration. So aeration fans, give them a blowout, make sure there's no cobwebs, make sure that the engines, the generators, they're all serviced, they're ready to go. It's really important when we're looking at sealed silos is to make sure we pressure test them in the pre-season, just to test if there's any hatch seals or there's any leaks developing in a certain spot, so we can really determine, is our gas tight storage actually gas tight. It's really important to decontaminate augers and pumps from the use of pickles and any of the residues that might be associated with any of the seeding products that people have put on. Any equipment that's been used to treat or elevate treated grain into the seeder, it's really important to get those chemicals that have been used, mostly the fungicides, but they are an issue with the trade in contaminating grain, particularly when it's for export, because the residue testing procedures are really thorough. So every hatch of every vessel that leaves Australia is tested. The final one is to calibrate augers and your spray pump output. The calibration really determines the output of the grain, which we then need to match 1 litre of product per tonne of grain. So on the auger you can see here, that generally puts out 120 tonnes per hour, which is 2 litres per minute. So we need to ensure that we check the nozzles in the pre-season, and we ensure that once the nozzle's been replaced, we test the output so the new nozzle and the pressure is adjusted so we're getting 2 litres of output per minute. When you're doing that also, the angle of the auger does vary with the output, and it's really important to calibrate your machine when it's on the angle of the silo you're going into, because the higher the angle going up, the slower the output of the commodity will be. And vice versa, the lower the angle, the faster the output. So ensure that you think about that when your pre-season set up.